Come on.
It's House Corrections and Institutions. It is Friday, March 21st, and we are going to be walking through, hopefully, our new draft of our capital bill. It is draft 3.1. I'm going to do my best to walk you through. I just want to at least get started. If we can really start paying attention to the language, and the more that we read line by line this morning, the better it will be for us in the afternoon. We won't have to be here as late. So let's really focus on the language, and people need to really read it and process it through. If you have a question, just ask, because this is reflective of the work we've been doing all session. Section 1, that's our legislative intent. That is not in the green books. That is just indicating what our intent is. And the first paragraph is laying out what the total amount. I believe it's the total amount.
It is.
I'll make
No,
sure.
it's
No,
only
it's
the
not.
bonded amount.
Yes, that's right.
No, it's a total. It's a total.
No, the first line is bond.
Yeah, it's bonded. Yeah.
Without.
It's bonded. Yep. So it only deals with bonded in the first year of the biennium is 61,600 and change.
Yep, maximum spreadsheet, so.
So the fact that we talked about that, we should not include the word bond.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I understand.
And then B talks about the second year of the biennium. So people understand what 1718 says. We haven't really talked about it. Line 17 and 18. Do folks know what that means?
I do. No.
That's why I asked, because we haven't really talked about it. So sometimes in the past, when we first started to develop a 2-year plan, there were some items that we were very clear dollar amounts for a particular project. And we were very clear we didn't want that to be touched by the budget adjustment that we were going to do the next year. Because when we come back in January next year, we have our own budget adjustment and we'll be moving money between the 2 years. And when we first started with this, there were times that there was a project or a couple projects that we were really, really clear. We wanted that money to be used for that and not be subject to the budget adjustment. So we would kind of put a fence around it and say that was off limits. And that's what this language refers to. It says that it's the intent of the General Assembly that unless otherwise indicated, all appropriations are subject to BAA. So the unless otherwise indicated, that indicated that we would put a fence. We haven't done it this year. We haven't done it a couple of years, but there were times it was a really important project. And I think it was more when we were doing the Waterbury complex.
Yes.
We didn't want that money to get sucked back because we needed to really go forward with it. And, you know, the same thing could happen if we do the replacement of the women's facility. Down the road, we can put a fence around that and say, that's off limits for budget adjustment. Joe?
That's what I was gonna say, so.
Yeah, it's off limits. So, and then the next year you can lift that fence, but that's what that language did first. And also you're gonna hear the term boilerplate. Wait, a lot of times, maybe on the floor for reports that you're gonna hear or getting into other bills or something, you'll hear council say this is boilerplate language. What boilerplate language means is like this section here, legislative intent, every capital bill has the same introduction in legislative intent. So it's called boilerplate because it keeps reoccurring every year. So the term is boilerplate. It just means it's the
It's a scheme term. I thought that was a skiing term.
Boiler ice.
Yeah.
Boiler.
So you're gonna hear the term boilerplate a lot, which means this is language that happens a lot, same type of language. So next year, somebody could, when we do the draft next year, somebody could say section 1 is boilerplate. Means it's always there. It's not statute, it's not in law. It's not in the green books, because all you see is section 1 on line 9. You don't see 29 VSA, blah, blah, blah. So whenever you see something that doesn't have an indication to a title VSA, it indicates it's session law, and you're not amending state law. You're not amending the green books.
Mhm.
Just to help you folks, and you get out there on the floor and start reading other bills. It might help.
We can't report it out as boilerplate.
A lot of people do.
This is a boilerplate.
Yeah, sit down. No, you can say that.
Some people do on the floor.
I wouldn't
Discussed us.
Some people do on the floor.
really.
Say, this is boilerplate language.
Yeah,
So when
because-
you hear that,
It indicates to the body, like, listen, this is the same stuff every year. We're not making drastic changes. And they go, okay, no problem.
yeah, you will hear that on the floor.
Or cookie cutter.
Well, and Don, you questioned you on a comment.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, well,
Anyway, let's move on.
So page 2. This is our BGS section. Again, there's no change in statute. This is section law. So let's read it and comprehend it. So line 8 is where this is only for FY 26.
Mhm.
Okay, so that is only column G of the spreadsheet. Okay?
Mhm. Numbers are right.
And they're only bonded dollars, which is why line 9 looks goofy, right? Because the rest of it's okay.
Right.
So,
You mean line 9? Yeah, it's only bonded dollars. And make sure you read the language, not just the dollars, so that it tracks what's on this, what's on the spreadsheet.
Yep.
Okay, you gotta track the language and what the money is to be used for. If you have questions about that, now's the time to raise it. And we do have BGS here, so Wanda, if you see something that's out of whack, let us know. And what we did on line 12 was to make sure for the Asa Bloomer that it's not just the sewer system upgrades, but also that we're doing roof repair. So that's all connected to previous money. So any concerns down to line 19? People get there, anything.
Jeez. They're all accurate.
Okay, so line 20 is FY 27. So you have to go to column I. This is not dealing with any cash here. Cash is going to be dealt with later on in the bill. This is just bonded. So we're dealing on the spreadsheet with column I, and this is for FY 27. So lines 1 on page 3, is someone picking anything up?
Reducing contingency. No,
Use, better use.
We're gonna add the word reuse.
Yeah, reuse instead of use.
Okay. Harder to follow it on the other line.
Teacher, free. That's first year. Okay.
And then what's on line 16 and 17 and 18 on page 3? Line 16 is the total amount that's going to BGS in FY 26 of bonded dollars. Line 17 is the total amount that's going to the BGS projects in FY 27. And then line 18 is the total of those 2 years. Okay. That's the structure. Bill. So human services, this is DOC. Again, it is only bonded dollars. And it's really important, like on lines 2 and 3, to understand where the money is appropriated to what department or agency, because there are a few times we've had testimony that says, can you redirect us to be appropriated to Agency of Commerce and Community Development instead of BGS? Or can you have it go to BGS instead of the courts? You're going to hear that. So it's really important to see where the money is appropriated to. Who has the control of these monies? So it says, lines 2 to 4, that in DOC, for these DOC projects, the money is going to BGS for the Agency of Human Services. So BGS is in control of these dollars, not corrections and not the Agency of Human Services. Okay? James.
So, line 5, right, talks about the HVAC, but on the
Yeah.
spreadsheet, line 20, it only says correctional facilities.
Did you correct that
Did
at
that
all?
get corrected too?
Did that get corrected, Scott?
On the spreadsheet that I have in front of me, I have planning, design and construction. On line 20? Okay,
For HVAC?
yep. Not to get too far ahead, but on line 26, it just says upgrades on the one we have.
No, there's 2 separate lines.
Is
There's
it?
2, yeah.
Oh, it's together?
No, that's 2 separate. So we got $4 million going statewide. I
Mhm.
think we need the word statewide on the spreadsheet if it's not there. Scott. Statewide, planning, design, and construction for HVAC system upgrades at correctional facilities. It's 4 million. Because some places are gonna be doing the construction, some places is planning and design, but it's gonna be a flexibility between a lot of. Troy and then Gina,
A similar question for lines 23 and 24, Scott.
or you. Lines 23,
Yeah, see here.
There is no line
Yeah, on the
23 and
spreadsheet.
24.
On the
Oh, on a
spreadsheet, on the
spreadsheet,
Yeah, because a whole bunch of them got cut off. So we're just making sure.
yeah. Well, let me see, statewide,
Just has the
yeah,
same system.
yeah. So system replacements, you need to put in St. J Northeast Correctional. Did that get cut off?
I think it's just when I did it last night and I had added the extra column, things got shrunk, but they are on this version here.
Oh,
that I
okay,
printed this
okay.
On
morning.
that version?
Yes, so it didn't change anything from the spreadsheet. Good morning, Scott Moore, Brent Fiscal Office. It didn't change the spreadsheet from yesterday, other than the fact that yesterday's spreadsheet, that column had gotten scrinched.
Yep.
And this morning I unscrinched it, the technical JFO term. Yep. Scrinching. So it is-
I like that.
so,
Thank you, sir.
And then line 15 is, oh, I'm sorry, Jane.
That's okay. Are we going Oxford comma or not Oxford comma? Because if you look at, line 5 on page 4, it's got statewide planning, design, and then there should be a comma, construction. And same on line 18, after design, there should be a comma. If we're going Oxford comma, which I personally don't like,
I
but
don't like it either.
it's Oxford comma and a bunch of other parts of the bill.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
So easier just to put those two in.
yeah,
Let's
we
be
might as well just
consistent.
put those in.
Where was the second one?
The second one's line 18.
And then line 20.
Consistency.
Oh, line 22.
No, because that's only listing
No,
of two.
It's not an Oxford.
That's no
Okay.
Oxford there.
Making sure you're paying attention.
I'm sorry, I'm not following.
Rich people looking at that.
Comma between design and in both of these locations. Line 5.
I don't know anything about commas, so I stay out of it. You can have that argument with John when he goes in.
You're
Well,
bringing it
he
up.
uses it in some other places.
You got a little upset when I brought commas in.
Oh, God.
You guys were trying to kill my bill.
You folks can bring that comma.
But see, he's got it right on line 12.
Yeah.
There's an Oxford
No
comma, so we
disagreement.
have to be consistent.
If I may.
At line 12.
Well, a likely yes on the floor, but with the explanation.
Yes.
Oh,
I like the pictures of the fluctuations.
I'm just looking, right. So I'm on
That is good.
15 on page 4, that's where we kick in FY 27. Again, that's your column I. This is just bonded dollars. Yes, well, we found something.
Well, I'm actually confirming right now.
Diane.
So it's Wanda Manoli, Commissioner of BGS for the record. Line 9 and then line 20. This goes to the comment that you just made to your members that sometimes in sections it's appropriated to BGS. Sometimes it's appropriated directly to the department. It's my understanding, developing the capital bill this year, that we had not been giving some major maintenance directly to corrections to do some of their fixes like the beds or the desk replacements. And that we added this back in. And I am confirming because some of the projects that I believe DOC wants to do in these sections would not be ours. And I think it's fine to leave it the way it is. It may be something that we get better clarity on for you. But when I go to the request, there's compliance with the Prison Rape Elimination Act, with the grills, the bunks, the desks, the stools. Those would typically go right to the department so they can be efficient and repair what they need to. So I have asked clarity. I could be incorrect that we're continuing in this manner. Not to
So,
mess up your bill.
no, this is a time to do it.
Correct.
Because we're gonna have another draft. So can you find that out?
I've already asked. I'm
And
waiting
if we
for a
need,
response.
we may just need to pull those two,
And you would create another
Another
section
section.
that
What was the other
directly
one? 9 what?
appropriates it.
12. lines 9 and line, it's the security upgrades. Correctional facilities, safety, security upgrades. So the money may need to go directly to DOC.
Okay, so including no.
Yeah, it would be line
Also the door?
9. No, it would be line 9 and
And
line 20 on
it's-
Oh, line
page 4.
20. Line 20.
But your FY 26 and your FY 27
Okay,
appropriation.
now that makes more sense. Okay, got it.
So we'll flag that. Okay,
Crisis averted. That's good.
so the door replacements, just want this to be verified by BGS. The door replacements are gonna happen in 26 at St. J. The door replacements
There's 7 at Rutland.
in 27 at Rutland and complete it in St. J.
Correct.
That's good. Here's your Oxford comment there. Gina,
Where's that?
Peyton, line 12 on.
Yeah, exactly. It's in there, so we gotta make it consistent. I don't like that.
So I'm just trying to follow this here. Yeah, it doesn't really track.
Which one?
Well, the way it's listed, it's because I can't see the full
Well,
amount
I know.
in section 3 on the which Medini. This is no big deal. But John said that the listing and the sections, the language tracked the listing. And I'm trying to figure out if it does.
Well, Scott said.
I got the lines. I wrote the actual lines where they were in here because they're not tracking. on
They're
these
not
numbers.
tracking the
Right.
spreadsheet,
But
right?
I got them there. I think that's right.
But it's hard to see on the spreadsheet because
Right.
we don't have the
Should
full
we just-
amount.
So we get to the
Scott?
spreadsheet.
You want in the spreadsheet, which shows all the words. So you-
Well, the way, maybe you can just double check.
You did.
Okay. So on, this would be for FY 20, for FY 27, the way it's listed, statewide HVAC system upgrades. The next one's statewide correctional facilities, safety and security upgrades. Then it's Rutland door system control. Then it's St. J system control. Then it's Newport sprinkler system. Is that the way it's listed on the spreadsheet? Okay,
Exactly.
that's all I need to know, because it's hard to follow it here. It's just a little technicality, but it makes it easier to follow. So make sure you pay attention to lines 7 through 14, page 5, and explain to me what it means.
It means that the funds that are appropriated for certain projects may be moved to other projects within the section.
Which project? Making you guys work.
Northwest.
Learn how to read it.
Northwest,
And where did you find that?
the NWCF on line 11.
No, but what led you to it?
What led me to it?
Yep.
I just zoomed in on the only correctional facility that was listed in that paragraph.
You gotta go to line 9. Page 5, just helping you read a bill.
Subdivision A5.
Right. Any unexpended project balances between the amount appropriated in subdivision A5 of this section. So you're working in this section, you have to find A5. So you get, it's the language. It's the
It's
language.
also specifically enumerated, it's lines 11 and going into 12.
Right, but to understand what the language is saying, just to help you, because you're gonna be reading lots of bills and laws here on the floor. So on line 9, transfer any unexpended project balances between the amount appropriated in subdivision A5 of this section. So you need to go back
Yeah,
to page 4.
13 and 14.
You need to go back to page 4, find little a, and then find number 5.
So it's specifically for the roof replacement.
Is specifically for the St. Albans facility.
Mhm.
And then it says, and the amounts appropriated in 23 acts, blah, blah, blah. We had money previously for booking, expansion, planning, and design at the St. Albans facility. So we're allowing those 2 expenditures to be used interchangeably.
We're also allowing them to release that money without proof, or without verification that they've asked for federal funding.
And Will was gonna look in on that from finance and he's under Nick.
You see Will Spacey?
No, not Will, the other guy.
Come on, Greer. Like what?
May release the amounts notwithstanding.
Yep.
Oh, no, I don't think it says that. Because if you go back to that section in our previous bill, there's B. I'm not sure. We had that conversation. We need to check in.
We were gonna check, to see if it happened, but I do believe that notwithstanding no longer requires them to wait for that verification before
Yeah.
they release the funds from 23.
That's what they said.
Talked
Yeah.
about.
Yeah,
So Will was checking
at the
in.
bottom, I'm just saying that's what it
Right.
says.
So, do you know, Wanda, who I'm talking?
Notwithstanding to 152 I'm limited to how much I can transfer of unspended funds. So you're giving, the way I'm reading it, and I apologize, committee, is that you're giving me a notwithstanding, and then I'm looking at the section 27. Which it is the intent of the General Assembly that the Commissioner of Buildings and General Services shall incorporate into the booking expansion design at the Northwest State facility. That list items, but it's.
Where are you reading?
Yeah, that's
I'm
not,
reading your section, I'm
Right,
reading,
you're reading the section of the bill.
yeah,
Right.
Are you on Act 69?
I am,
Yeah, okay.
yeah,
Okay,
but I think the notwithstanding.
so B,
Because you're authorizing us to transfer any unexpended projects balances between the amount appropriated in 23. And then in addition, you're asking the Commissioner of Finance to release the federal funds that I believe, and I have to confirm the Agency of Human Services.
27A.
There you go, sir.
I gotta read, I'm getting the
Yeah, that's
language.
what-
I need to see it in front of me.
that's what they told us the other day.
Shall only release the funds appropriated upon notification from the secretary that the request was submitted. So
Right.
we requested the secretary, we required the secretary to request federal funds in section A, 27A. This is stating we no longer have to wait for that.
Yep.
Verification.
Before we start the work.
Right.
Correct.
And we may not want to do that.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
You're-
I don't know what the answer is gonna be.
So I'm trying to find, because I was trying to find the language. I'm not, what's, well, you
Would you
don't.
like this, Madam Chair?
Because I've got my,
Excuse me for
I've got the bill.
reaching over
I'm
in
trying
front of
to
you.
find- because I know there's two sections.
They're blind.
Say that,
Two
say that
sections.
again, Troy, we don't need to
So-
wait for them.
We had requested the secretary to request federal funding because of the fact that that booking station accommodates federal
Federal detainees.
detainees. So we said, well, let's get some federal money then. Everybody said, that's not gonna happen. So we said, well, can you ask? So we required them to at least ask before the funds were released.
Okay.
This notwithstanding allows them to release them without verification that that question was asked. And the question may have already been asked. I don't know.
And that's what Will
Yeah.
from Nick Kramer's office was gonna check on.
Gotcha.
And we haven't heard back.
And I also, I'm interpreting your language that even if if the money did not occur on the federal side, that notwithstanding would allow me to transfer money within the sections and move the project
Mhm.
forward,
Yeah.
which is, I believe, your intent as I'm reading.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what we agreed on, yes.
But there's another piece
The
to
B.
section 27.
I
Which,
didn't turn the page, Madam Chair.
no, it's also the intent that BGS would incorporate in the booking expansion design innovations to the HVAC system.
When,
Right.
That is not-
Enhanced employee,
It's just notwithstands 27A.
yes,
right, so you can still do B.
Yeah.
That was the key, to still
Yeah.
do B, because B is enhanced
Mhm.
employee amenities, use of renewable energy,
Yeah.
and use of evidence-based principles for
Yeah.
wellness.
And that's why Nick had made, because we had to talk about that the other day and he went back to put the A in. To make sure that it didn't. This B was left alone.
Right. Do you want to see this language?
I'm going to analyze the language as you continue to work.
You know
But I understand the intent is you want us to advance the projects.
Right.
And you wanna ensure that we don't have any language that is limiting us from transferring the money or moving the project forward. Is that
And I
right?
think we've let go of the request that was needed. We need to find, Will from Nick's office was going to, he said, I'm checking in on it now. We never heard back.
I will follow up on that.
Yeah, I want to know if we heard back.
It's on full right now.
It's fine. Usually he's in here all the time.
He's over, he'll be in this afternoon.
Okay,
We're all good. We got you covered.
okay. Let's go to section 4, commerce and community development.
So
Word that we all read, but don't
See?
do so not allowed, line 4.
Yeah, right.
well, I want to go to line 2 because so on the spreadsheet, it says Vermont Underwater Historic Preserves and the spreadsheet only says underwater preserves. I don't necessarily have a problem with it, but if we're being consistent,
Mhm.
and if I might add that I copied the spreadsheet, that part came from the governor recommend. So that's where I had that historic added.
Right.
So I'm happy to take it off the spreadsheet or whatever you would like, but just so you know, that's where that came from.
Mhm.
So it's something I added.
or you can.
Hang on, folks. This in the text.
Not because the description was specifically for underwater.
Yeah, but it's, I'm going back to last year's. It's Vermont Underwater Historic Preserves.
Yeah, so we
That's what we
should,
need to put
so we
in.
should put it in the bill.
That's what we had at my capital.
Line 2, second word, yeah, at
Historic, yeah.
good observation.
Really clear. It's not, it's at a particular site.
Well, I've earned my money for the day.
And then, so then again would be on line 9, same thing.
I haven't got there. but- Oh, yeah. So, 3. Oh, there it is. Jeez.
Because we added a,
Ooh, going crazy.
and then line 6 is our FY 27.
Got it. Thank you.
You didn't get it?
I was struggling with that.
You gotta read
Yeah.
line 6.
Yep, I got it now.
We split it up between the
Mhm.
2 years.
It's just because they were all the same.
Scary, it's starting to make sense.
Yeah.
There you go, Kev.
I'm
That's what you
not sure
need.
that's good.
It's like you speak fluent Latin all of a sudden.
Yeah, and you
That's
go-
what you need. It makes
That'll never
sense.
happen.
You go home and nobody wants to talk to you. What language are you speaking?
The problem is when it starts to make sense to committee members, then you can really start creating trouble.
Yeah, she did.
That's a lot.
So,
Now you know how the function works.
Grant programs.
I agree with Gina on the comma though.
Well, I'm not getting.
Gotta pile on.
It's just about
Just 5
consistency.
minutes.
Yeah, I know. We're gonna keep going.
okay.
Gonna keep going. Page 6, will be fairly easy. This is our building community grants. I think we have to put in the title, building community grants program. It's not just grant programs, it is building community grants. You have to be very specific.
So circle that.
We did. That's the problem, we didn't amend. I gotta get to the original. I got too many bills here.
We got a lot of bills that come in the mail every day.
You're just following them. Well, it does say grant programs. I'd rather have building community grants. I'd rather have that up there. Instead of grant programs, it's gonna get. Well,
So you want us to add that?
yeah,
Building
building community grants.
community. Grant programs. Cool.
Well, it does, Madam Chair, on page 6, it does say the following sums are appropriated for the building community grants.
Yeah.
Oh, you want it to be program?
No, the title, section 5.
Oh, that's how you did it last year.
I know, I looked at grant programs. You know, we can keep a grant program.
Yeah, let's keep it that way out.
Okay. Keep a grant program.
Consistency.
So all of these got bumped up to 300,000. Except for education and human services, they're 150 apiece.
It's those were originally together, right? At one time.
Way back.
So so they're kind of in effect.
So, Madam Chair, could I just on the, it was interesting for me this year coming in after the grant, so you've split the human services and the educational financially. However, for the individual that administers it, you want one grant to go to educational use and the other to go to human services. But can the two intermingle sometimes?
Well, reason why we split it, and we may be at the point of not splitting it anymore.
Okay,
But the reason why we split it was we wanted to see of those two between the human services and the education, where there was more demand, what was coming in.
all right, but they're just spending, they're spending whatever you give them, so.
Yeah, but the reason we split it, we wanted to see, was there more demand for the human services? Was there more demand for education?
Okay,
And what were those education ones? That's why we split it, just to get a barometer of what was happening there.
so did we provide you the data on?
It probably was, and we haven't paid attention.
And I'm fine administering that. When I first read it, I will tell you, I struggled going because it's identical. But I just said, well, the intent is
I mean,
split
we
it
can-
and give some to human services. You were dividing the 300,000 to the two programs.
Right, because we wanted to see what was really coming in on the educational side.
Okay.
Because that was getting a little fuzzy. That was getting a little fuzzy. That's why it was split, just so we could track it. Now, have we looked at the tracking of it? No.
No, it's the same committee, and I think, if I'm not, I wanted to understand it, it's the same committee, and really, we say you 50% of this money goes to educational programs, 50% goes to human services. I'm fine administering it, continuing to administer.
So are you seeing that it's a pretty equal request?
I looked at the data in October, but I too am not recalling, I have not gone through a full round in my new role with the grants yet. I just was trying to figure out what had changed and why.
So since we don't have the data, can we leave it the way it is now and ask for some tracking for next year?
Well, we have all of the information,
The
so.
data, we just haven't looked at.
We can't get. it
So
by
I
the
would
end of the
say-
day.
Yes, the one thing what I want to be able to do is if I only get $100,000 requested on the human service side, I want to be able to shift
To the
the
education,
50,000 to the committee and say spend the rest on
education.
it, or vice versa.
Could we now combine it? I mean, it was combined.
That is totally.
Sounds.
And let me go back and look at the data and see where it's aligning.
Yeah.
You've got a little bit of time today. I'll do that back in the office. I'm curious now too.
Yeah, I mean, we did it so that we could see, was there more demand for one or the other?
So we're circling those back girls. For,
And now I'm confused because it looks to me like the governor had it split out before we did.
Well,
Oh, we split it.
we modeled the
Oh, years ago. Oh, I see.
we modeled the bill as
Yeah.
you've been doing.
We did that about probably 4 years ago.
Not this section, yeah, Becky.
So,
I'm gonna say it might combine.
so we need to go on the floor, folks. So we'll pick up on the next section. You see how long it's gonna take?
Yeah. Page 7, like, we're doing pretty good.
We're not able to come off the floor at any point, are we?